Good morning. Consciousness Rising, Mind Your Head here. Natasha.
Hello.
And Rebecca. Welcome if you are watching on Truth Pills, Devon Mackenzie Friends, or any other platform in the universe. Welcome.
Hello.
So, this is that we never redo our videos, do we, Tash?
No, but today we're having trouble.
We are having so much trouble. So anyway, we're gonna third time lucky. This is gonna happen this time.
Yes.
Or we'll have to do something completely different. Anyway, we were going to talk about inversions of male to female and female to male. But,
very interesting.
Yes, but we've decided that we'll save that for another day.
Yeah, and we'll keep on with the track because we've been talking about exposure and stuff like that. And also next week we're talking to Sian, who's a very interesting lady. So it makes sense to follow this bit through.
She's got quite an incredible ongoing story to tell.
Yeah.
So today we're going to talk about another lady that we've been helping with her child protection issues. You know, it's an exposure, and we feel it's time to start talking about her case, and it does link in very nicely with what's going on for Sian that we'll be talking to next week. So we thought the easiest way is for you to take the...
I'll take the lead here, as Rebecca's had a lot more recent contact with Jane. We did interview her, I think, last November.
Yeah, November.
It was a very long interview. It's a very complex case, but we just don't feel it's the right time for her face to be out there, really.
No.
So what we thought we'd do today is try and tell her story for her.
Yes.
And as Rebecca's had more recent contact, I thought I would...
You'll be the questioner. You're going to probe me. How exciting.
I'm going to probe Rebecca. Oh. Yeah, so I'm going to, ask you some questions about her. So if we start off at the beginning of Jane and her husband's relationship, I suppose, and where things started to change.
Yeah, so they obviously met and married. Everything was fine at the beginning. I just want to add in here that he is from a different culture.
Okay.
Not that makes any difference normally, but there are certain things it's relevant, for later on.
Okay.
So they met, married, set up home in England.
How many children?
4 children.
4 children.
Had 4 children. And I think everything was okay really until one of the children had a learning difficulty.
Okay.
And obviously the father got frustrated with the child perhaps not behaving, you know, in the way he wanted.
What he considered appropriate, sort of thing.
At the table.
And could this be a cultural thing when you're talking about the culture bit? Could it maybe be something that was...
I don't know.
Frowned upon?
I don't know. I just think he was very short-tempered.
And only with that particular child?
Yeah, with that particular child. Very short-tempered, very impatient, and started to hit the child around the head. And bearing in mind that the child was young at this stage, like we're talking still in a high chair type
so
age.
Toddler sort of age.
Yeah. So violence started with this child, and obviously Jane interjected and said, don't hit him, and blah blah blah. Then she said he would say he'd stopped hitting him, but then she would know that she'd go around the corner, and when she was not there,
so he was doing it out of her sight.
Out of her sight, yeah. So problems started with that, but then I think that behaviour kind of got more and more and more, as in he was
controlling behaviour,
controlling with the children, controlling with her
and what she could do. Because she did mention to us, didn't she, that he did have some sort of gun licence and a gun.
Yeah.
And towards the latter bit of the relationship, he was using
the gun to threaten the children, threaten her,
and to keep her there, I would imagine.
Yeah, and he did actually fire the gun. When the police were called, they could see that the gun had been fired from inside the house out. And
that was through a garage door, wasn't it, if I remember correctly? So he was shooting at them when they were leaving the house?
I'm not sure. Or whether he was just shooting around them, because that's quite intimidating. If somebody's got a gun and they're shooting around you, even if they're not aiming it at you, you're still scared by that. You're still threatened.
And I think
by that.
she did say that the license was taken away for some time, wasn't it? But did he manage to?
Yeah, the license was taken away and then it was given back. Now, the reason I mentioned that he was from a different country, or his family are from a different country, is that his father is very high up in the military in that country.
With diplomatic connections, potentially?
I reckon so, yeah.
So he has power?
Yes.
Okay.
Because for a gun licence to be revoked and then given back like that, when he was still in the same situation, seems odd to me.
Powers that be maybe had some form of control.
Yeah, and then there's more stuff that's happened in the courts, the family courts, which we already know are very corrupt. But when Jane talked about it, it just seemed really obvious to me that the military connection probably means a Masonic connection.
Absolutely, yeah.
Or some sort of secret society, because it just seems like this man, the husband, is protected.
Or in control somehow.
Well, he's protected.
I do remember her saying that one of his solicitors, I think it was, or someone that was working for him, just suddenly appeared from
nowhere.
From his country. They believe from the country, the origins of his family's country, and he just didn't appear to necessarily even have the correct qualifications or anything. Managed to turn things around in court and sway the opinion as to what was going on, and then disappeared again. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And wasn't there another incident where I think it was a psychologist who was doing some psychology, possibly
on the children. Yeah.
That she was actually using her dead sister's qualification
and name
and using that in the court case.
In the courts. Yeah.
So that is, to me,
crazy,
completely bizarre. And Jane has all this evidence as well. She's got all of the evidence.
All the evidence.
But apparently this evidence is never... So it's submitted, but it's never...
What she said was that... we know the family courts are really bad, but her case is absolutely extraordinary when you look at what's gone on. They've had judges that are obviously what I call clean, which means they're not corrupted. And as soon as that becomes apparent, they've been taken off the case.
So they put other people in.
Yeah, put other people in. Or the judges seem to be sympathetic to her and the children's case, and then it's as if someone has a word in their ear.
So be it money, be it threats,
change. They change.
Whatever.
Suddenly then they're not listening to mum, they're not listening to the children. So somebody is having a word in the ear of anybody that is independent and clean.
So it's either this military or diplomatic,
I think so,
connection.
Yeah.
So somebody quite high up
is pulling the strings.
Is pulling the strings.
She's also provided incredible evidence to the courts, and they won't even look at it, or they look at it and completely ignore it.
So it's being submitted, but it's not being read or spoken about.
Just ignoring evidence.
And she's got all that physical evidence, hasn't she?
Yeah, she's got all of it. So anyway, there's been a very, very messy situation, partly because, as we know, the courts are corrupt anyway, but also because this ex-husband obviously has some kind of immunity to...
Or outside influence.
There's an outside influence that keeps coming in and affecting what goes on in the courts. So the situation got pretty bad, and she ended up leaving the country with the children.
So she took the children with her. So all 4 children?
Yeah, all 4 children, and she had them safe with her, and they were happy. This is bearing in mind that this has gone on for years. So these kids have... So
this would have been several years ago that she did this, or...
What, left the country?
Yeah.
A couple of years ago.
A
couple of years ago, and had them with her for quite a substantial amount of time. They were all settled.
They all went to school and stuff.
They were happy, and then of course the English authorities caught up with them.
So would that be through Interpol or
I guess Interpol?
Because didn't she? Am I right in thinking she claimed asylum or something herself?
Oh yeah. So she's got asylum.
So when she went to Morocco, basically she managed to claim asylum there because of what her husband was clearly doing to her.
Threats to her.
Threats, but and maybe not just her husband, maybe powers higher up as well were perhaps threatening her. I don't know.
I think the asylum is granted on things that he said. Which
so
I think,
direct
because I think you have to evidence
yeah.
somebody's threats, don't you?
So it would have been direct violence
to her life,
or threat of her life.
Yeah.
So did the children have this same?
No, she's got asylum. It's temporary as well. It's a temporary asylum.
So it's just to keep reapplying.
Yeah, but the children didn't. I'm not sure why. Whether she just assumed that her asylum would be enough. But anyway, they did come and they took the children.
So social services came and took the children back to live with their father or in care?
To live with this very violent father who has firearms, who's there's so much evidence that he's erratic, mentally unstable. You know, there's just, I'm not going to go into detail because I don't want to reveal too much about for their safety, but incredible. I mean, when you look at the evidence and you hear what's happened, you just can't believe that anyone would put children with anyone like that. So they all got taken back. Now the eldest child refused point blank to go and live with the father. They've seen a bit more than the younger three.
They made up their own mind, basically.
And they'd made up their own mind, yeah. And at this time they were 13 and they were just like, nah, I'm not going to live with him. So that child, so the younger three are with dad still.
At which the social services have obviously approved,
and
that's what they want.
They've done that, yeah. They've obviously been told somewhere along the line that the dad has to have the kids.
Right.
He's got this kind of whatever. So the older one then went to live with the maternal grandfather.
Okay.
And was living there.
And I guess social services agreed to that as well then.
At the time.
So there wasn't any...
I don't think they had much choice because that child is old enough to really say, I'm not going.
But were they not trying to put that child...
Oh, yeah, they were.
So they were trying to put that child into care?
Oh, that was later, yeah. So they didn't really want the older child with the maternal grandfather. So they've never left that grandfather alone.
Right.
They've been sort of harassing and hounding, as social services do when they want a child. And then it got to the point where, end of last year, they were saying that the child was traumatised. Of course, the children are all traumatised because they've been taken away from their mother. They've been put in the hands of a difficult father, and this
they've had guardianships and all sorts of there've been so many people influencing
and they've had all of that, and it's all been corrupt, as we've heard so many times before. These guardians and these social workers are not there for the children.
No, and they try and basically recreate the children's past memories to be favourable to the person they're protecting. From what I can gather is what happened with Jane, isn't it? They basically tried to manipulated it and made out Jane to be the one who was
harming the
mentally
children.
Unstable, if you like.
And not the other way around, which we've heard them do so many times to other people. So at the end of last year, social services started to say that this oldest child was traumatised and needed to go into care.
Right.
So they wanted to take the older child from the grandfather, where the older child is perfectly happy. And put them into a care home in a notorious part of the country. I'm not going to say,
and that was even away from the family, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's not in their area. Not even in their area, but a place where if anyone said to me, "Oh, I'm going to put a teenager in this area," I'd say, "Oh, what? Because they'll be trafficked
away,
because it's an area which is completely, very commonly known as being had a huge problem with child prostitution, child abuse, and trafficking, and all of that sort of thing. So very obvious what they've got planned for this child." So anyway, since then the child has turned 14, went and bought a ticket.
Wow.
With their own money, yeah.
Wow.
And booked everything themselves.
Incredible.
And got on a plane.
And flew out to be
with their mum. So, the thing now is that obviously I say, oh, possession is 9/10 of the law. That's something I've always thought when, now that child is with the mother, great, good big thumbs up for that. But obviously there's a fallout in this country. Grandfather is now being harassed by social services.
Because that was the child's last permanent residence, so obviously that is going to pique interest, isn't it? That's the first place they're going to go to, and they're going to find it very hard to probably believe that the grandfather wasn't involved in the...
But when you know the system... the mother and the child knew not to involve anybody,
which is really good, isn't
it? Because I didn't even know till afterwards what had happened. I knew that there were various plans being talked about, but I didn't know
which one was going to be executed.
What was going to happen. So, and I wasn't told till afterwards that it had happened. And
so the child basically made her way by herself to be with her mum.
So, but now the grandparent is being massively harassed. Obviously, asylum is going to be applied for. They've gone and tried to talk to the authorities, but you have to make an appointment and all of this malarkey. So that's not coming together very quickly.
And that doesn't sound like emergency asylum, does it either? You know, you think there'd be a procedure maybe for emergency stuff.
I think even emergencies now you have to wait weeks because it's just everything because of the Rona.
Oh, forgot about that.
Yeah, everything's, isn't it? Everything's, there's big, huge delays and waiting lists on everything now. So the situation is that the child is now with the mother, but the grandparent is being really harassed, and the younger 3 children are still
with the dad.
in that dangerous situation with the dad. But the important thing in this story is, yes, we know that the courts are corrupt. We know that family courts are corrupt. We know the social workers, the guardians, the judges, they're all in it together. But what adds an extra dimension to this case is the father's father, having been high up in the military in his country, obviously has got him some kind of protection in this country.
Well, it proves that it's global, though, doesn't it? That whole Freemasonry secret service thing. Sorry, secret service. Secret service, secret society. I know what I meant. Yeah, it just proves that it's a global connection.
It's international,
and it's a connection that they've all got each other's backs and stuff like that.
Yeah,
which is
So what we're going to do is, I think next week we're going to have we'll do an updated interview with Jane.
Yeah.
But we just wanted to put her story out.
We might just do an audio one as well.
Yeah.
So for now, just to sort of...
Yeah. And moving forward, we may do a campaign to protect the grandparent, but we're not sure yet. We don't want to put the other children in any danger or
still,
a precarious position, so we're still quite careful about how much we say and how much we give away. But it's important to know that these cases are international, and the corruption is international,
and just the power that they've got, the power that they can do all this, you know, just like probably with one phone call, and they can basically manipulate how a whole court works.
Yeah, the fact that they had judges that were sympathetic to the children's plight, and then the next time complete flip,
and just the fact that, you know, they can have somebody using their dead sister's qualifications to then be assessing the children's psychological.
So A, they're not the person they say they are. B, they haven't got the qualifications they say they have. Who uses their dead sister's identity?
Exactly, and why would they? You know, what is her intent and her role in that? That's just very weird, isn't it? And then how they can just have sudden people just appear from the native country to be present in this case that people know nothing about, and then to disappear again. No, it's very, very dodgy, isn't it? And I think when we talk to Sian next week as well, we'll hear a lot more about the court corruption. She's dealing with Bristol. I mean, there was
a lot of in the interview, there was a lot of instances of court corruption just over
fake warrants that they do, and
just completely ignoring evidence.
I think Sian's had quite a similar experience in that respect.
It seems to be par for the course that they've made a decision before I feel they make a decision before any of it's heard.
Well, they do, don't they? It's all theatre. Everything that goes on in courts is all theatre anyway. And, you know, all the different lawyers and what have you who pretend to be on the opposite side, they're all mates.
Yeah, they're all
just mates, and basically it's all decided beforehand, and then they come and do a little bit of theatre for us ridiculous cattle, who go, oh, look at that, oh. And at the end of the day, I always say with the whole court thing that is really weird, is they go on about people winning, people losing. However, these lawyers and that, they all get paid, don't they?
They're the winners.
They're winners no matter, even if they lose their case, they still get their money.
Still get paid.
It just proves that to me as corruption as well. Why would you, if you lose a case, still get the same amount of money as if you allegedly won a case? It just proves that it's theatre and it's optics.
Yeah.
Doesn't it? To me, it does anyway.
Well, and I say this to people when they're getting divorced is, you know, try not to use lawyers.
Absolutely.
Because they'll just take all the
Yeah,
money,
just
and
take the
they
money.
try to have you argue and cause arguments between the two of you.
Well,
because
solicitors are soliciting, aren't they? It's a prostitution. It's a similar thing. They're basically soliciting your money. They're extracting your money from you. That's what a solicitor is.
Yeah.
It's, you know, if you start thinking about
the words, the etymology,
and what they do, and it is, yeah. But, you know, ultimately the problem here is it's what's going on is the cost it's got to these children's lives, isn't it?
Mm.
And
I mean, there's
it's
4
happening,
children
yeah,
here.
and this is happening all over our country for sure, isn't it? Like day in, day out, they're having these court cases and they're taking children, and I believe it's something, is it £250,000 or £270,000 a year a child makes for the local authority?
250, I heard.
Is it 250? Yeah, so £250,000 per year per child for the local authority to be kept in the care system.
Yeah.
So that is a form of trafficking.
Yeah.
You know, people think of trafficking always about perhaps being the sex, you know, and all that. It's not. Trafficking comes in many, many forms.
Well, we've realised that there's trafficking within the NHS.
Yes.
So they get you on something like we talked about last week with the
Yep.
statins, and then you're in the system, and they know that long term you're going to have other problems.
Yeah,
so
it's
they traffic
trafficking.
you in.
Yeah, they traffic you in, and then
Then you've got the trafficking into children's services. Well, we'll get as many kids as we can away from the parents, because what they're supposed to do, social services, is support the parent if they're having problems to keep the child at home. They do the exact opposite: hound the parent, harass them. And
it should be
take
an
the children.
intervention service that tries to prevent people going into care, shouldn't it? Social services should be about the prevention of it and the, trying to heal what's there and intervene to the point that something doesn't have to go
as far as that.
Yeah. Whereas it doesn't. I mean, all the stories I hear, they
Always.
just go straight in.
They just want the children.
Yeah, they just go
because
straight
they
in.
can make all that money from once they're in the services. And then, as we discovered when we were doing research, a lot of these social workers and guardians have their own private limited companies in child services, and then they traffic the children through their own companies.
Through their own companies,
they're getting their way through being a social worker, and then they're getting more money because they've got a limited company on the side, which will be a nursery or a therapy or something like that, and they get all these kids to go through. Yeah. So it's so.
And it's the same with the elderly, isn't it? They do the same with the elderly, where they have care homes or care plans or care things, which are their limited companies, and they do very, very similar things. So the trafficking is just rife within the system, isn't it?
Yeah. So this is children being trafficked into the system for the system.
Yeah. To generate money.
Yeah.
And to, I don't know, cause destabilisation, I suppose, and fear, and there's all sorts of other things attached to it, isn't there? The actual dynamics of it.
And there's a lot of fear. I mean, we put out a thing for people to tell us their stories, and lots of people contacted us, and I haven't received one video neither of you. And that's not a criticism to those people. It's just a recognition that
how difficult
people
it is.
feel very worried about speaking out and having their face on camera and naming names. And I get that. It's they're worried because they want their children back, and they think that will go against them.
And these people are powerful that are doing this. You know, they you know.
Well, they can just take your child and not give them back.
They do that, don't they? They do that. You know, even though it's completely unlawful, and they're doing it with unlawful and illegal warrants. It doesn't stop.
No,
it's not stopping this.
And once they've got the child, it's very, very hard to get your child back.
Very, very hard.
So we completely get that people don't feel comfortable telling us their stories. So so hence why one of our missions is in Devon Mackenzie Friends is to try and just expose as much as we can. Jane will name names.
Absolutely, when the time's right.
When the time comes, but we just want to be careful because of the other 3 children, and also the eldest child is not safe as yet.
Exactly.
She,
you know, is protecting.
Yeah, because it's still until that asylum is granted to them, they're still vulnerable of being hoiked back.
I think as well, when we talk to Sian next week, she's at the stage already of exposing names.
Oh, she cries them from the rooftops.
And we're talking about, is it Teresa Villas?
Teresa Villas.
Teresa Villas, who is absolutely
satanic.
She's a high up priestess or something, isn't she? And she's really exposed her, isn't she? Because she was connected with her husband. It's an initiation process or something like that. But yeah, she and somebody Wildberg. She names all the names of Stephen Wildberg, or something like that. So she's a bit further ahead. So when we talk to her next week, it will be. I think
quite
revealing things.
But she's had to leave the country as well.
Yes,
she's not here.
She's not. Yeah, she's not in the country.
The
and
fact
she hasn't got her children.
No, but the fact you have to leave your country to be safe.
to be able to speak
crazy.
as well, to be able to
speak your
the
truth.
Yeah. So she will be absolutely fascinating next week. It'll probably be quite a long interview, but it will be, fascinating stuff. And she really knows her stuff. And I think she's an undergraduate in law anyway.
Well, she met her husband doing her degree, didn't she?
Yes. So she's got.
I think he was her lecturer.
He was her lecturer, and then I don't know if he was a judge or he became the judge in the courts once he had this initiation with Teresa Villas. I haven't quite worked out exactly how it worked, but I got the impression that he was working as a lecturer, and then his becoming a judge was all part of this ritual initiation with Teresa Villas MP. And it was all connected to that. So.
But we know that a lot of our MPs are Luciferians.
Yes.
And they practice.
And they're probably men. Oh, God, did you see the picture of her?
No, who?
Oh, Teresa Villas.
Is she a man?
Oh, my actual God.
What, is she very manly?
Oh, my God, she's got such a man.
Should we put one on
I wonder if I can just quickly see
it.
if I can find one. It was.
But yeah, I keep looking at all these politicians now, thinking, that's not a man, that's a woman.
Well, I'm not being funny, but a lot of politicians.
Well, and when we were in court for Billy, I mean, two people in the court were really
100%.
Obviously men dressed up as women.
And we're not just talking a little bit, we're talking 100%, like size 12 feet.
Yeah, massive.
Hilarious, like clip-on earrings. It was basically.
And like really thin male hair, but long, and then put in a ponytail at the back.
It was pretty disgusting.
A greasy thin. Oh, I don't even like her face.
What do we reckon on that? I think that's Teresa Villas.
I hope it is.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, MP. There we go. That's Teresa Villas. Let's see if we've got another. Yeah, that's a good one. That was. That's just another little look there.
Oh.
There she is.
Named and shamed. Teresa Villas, we know you're a high priestess on the dark side.
So basically, she needs to step down, this is what Sian's saying, for her involvement in the following: covering up child sex abuse, claiming unlawful expenses, interfering in a sex abuse case, interfering in my personal life and marriage.
Yeah.
So there we go.
Yeah, so Sian will be naming and shaming next week.
A little bit more than we just did then.
Yeah, but yeah, these politicians, these MPs, they're all corrupt, as you like, and they're all in it. As they like to say, we're all in it together. No, you lot are.
And they all used to have wieners.
What, all the women?
Yeah, they used to have willies, didn't they?
I thought they kept the little willy.
I think some do, some don't they?
Depends. I thought they did.
Some get rid of all of it, and some of them have it all turned into a proper vagina.
Do they?
Yeah, probably the more attractive ones maybe, but the butt ugly ones, yeah. They've probably got like little shriveled ones because obviously they haven't got the testosterone anymore and stuff. So I wonder what it does.
Probably just is really little and
like a little
probably
worm.
Does that
like
still.
But
it's probably like that when it's asleep.
Teresa Villas and her worm.
A wiggly worm. Anyway, we don't.
On that note,
I don't know. I don't like to. I find the male to female more.
It's a harder pill for people to swallow, I think, because I think the other way around we've kind of accepted that you can get very beautiful transvestites, and we kind of accept that males can be very attractive females. But the other way around, I think we find it quite hard. But we'll do a chat on it, because it's even simple things like the way a female walks in the sand, her footprints, because of our gait, will always be in front of each other, and males will always be slightly to the side. And that's like that. And it's because of the hip bones, ours are wider, so when we walk. So a lot of these so-called really handsome men that we might have lusted after, say in Hollywood, if you look at their gait and the way their legs are,
like a woman.
They've got it's almost like a triangle here, whereas men shouldn't. They should have their hips are straighter. As women have a triangle gap there because our hips are slightly wider, obviously for childbirth.
Thigh gap.
But I think people will find that really hard to get their heads around. These, and they're all short.
Yeah,
they are all short, and they've all got very short legs and really small little stubby hands.
And I remember when I was younger, when I used to like look at people like Johnny Depp and the one that was